Hey guys, my name is Maggie and this is the story of how I revived a very sad looking Epipremnum Aureum NJoy. It's also known as the Snow Queen. It has a mixture of white to off-white variegations on glossy, wrinkled leaves. The leaf shapes are quite variable. Sometimes they're heart-shaped, other times they're more blob-shaped. You can either let it trail like this or grow upwards on a moss pole. You might not suspect that there's anything wrong with the Epipremnum Aureum from this angle because it looks so lush and full at the tips here. But a top-down view reveals a different story. There's some major balding going on here. A lot of its oldest leaves have dropped off, yet the vines continue to grow longer as it pushes out new and younger leaves at the tip. In this bald section of the Snow Queen, where the leaves have already dropped off, you can clearly see the nodes, which are those lines along the vine. The node is a critical area on the plant where there is potential for new growth. Most of these nodes have aerial roots already, which will mean it'll be much easier to root and propagate eventually. If your Snow Queen is looking this sad too, you need to determine the cause of the issue. Is it the frequency and quantity of watering? Is it the amount and type of lighting? Are there plant pests that are gnawing away at it? This plant actually belonged to my friend. She's had it for about a year. It had always been big and bushy, but she noticed some of the oldest leaves dropping off. It was thoroughly watered whenever the soil dried out, so it wasn't a problem with watering. It lived on top of a shelf a few feet away from a big window where it received heaps of bright, indirect light throughout the day, so the lighting didn't seem to be the problem either. In terms of plant pests or other infections, my friend had a close examination and honestly couldn't find anything. Yet the leaves just kept dropping off. So there was only one thing to do after that: dig up the plant and check out what was happening beneath the soil. I waited until the soil was completely dry before doing so. Pushing against the side of the plastic nursery pot helps to loosen the soil up a bit. I find it satisfying when the root system pops out of the pot. At first glance, it seems like the root system has completely outgrown the pot because it's like a solid ball of yarn. As I'm gently tickling the root ball to get rid of all that old soil, I noticed that a lot of the roots broke away easily. They had no structural integrity, but fell away like dust, along with the rest of the soil. The roots that remained were scarce and few. So sad. Okay, so my first theory is that the plant had become root-bound, which means that the root system had grown so extensively with so little room to venture within that tiny pot that it started wrapping around itself like a ball of yarn, which is why the plant continued to mature and elongate its vines. But then it got to a point where the root system couldn't grow anymore, so it had to sacrifice some of its older leaves to keep sustaining all that new growth above the soil. My second theory is this. Can you see how there's one very large drainage hole on the bottom of this pot? It actually had a little elevated wall around it, kind of like a bundt cake tin. It means that there would have been some stagnant water trapped around the outside of the drainage hole. The water had no way of truly draining properly, so if my friend was feeling the top inch of the soil to determine when to water it, she'd have thought, yep, the soil is dry, it's ready to be watered again, not knowing that there was still probably some residual water pooling at the bottom of the pot. I really didn't see any point in keeping those bold bits of the stem, so I decided to preserve the prettier parts of the stem, leaving just enough residual vine with nodes and aerial roots to either propagate in water or soil later. The stems with the more substantial root system and more leaves intact, I decided to pot these directly into some fresh soil. The soil mix I went for had chunky bark, perlite, and lots of fresh soil to provide more aeration and allow water to easily flow through. Most importantly, this is the new and improved pot. It has 4 drainage slits on the bottom to drain the water to another tray underneath, preventing any stagnant water from pooling in the soil like before. That's the soil propagation done. Now for the stems with a couple of nodes and aerial roots. I separated them based on their length into 2 separate jars and filled them up with room temperature tap water, ensuring that the water fully immersed all the nodes. The point was to get a healthy root system going first in the water propagation, and then eventually moving this in with the other soil propagation, if that makes sense. 3 months later, this is how our soil propagation has done. It looks like there's a couple of healthy developments in the roots. In fact, you can spy some tiny new leaf spikes emerging from the vines beneath the soil, which is just incredible. And this is our water propagation. Check out those roots. It even managed to push out some deformed leaves. It was time to combine the water propagation in with the soil propagation. Friends, after another 3 months, yes, that's 6 months in total since we first laid eyes on our sad snow queen, so many new leaves have come through. The fresh, chunky soil mix with regular, thorough watering and lots of bright indirect light have allowed it to push out healthier leaves. Some of these new vines branching off are producing beautifully large leaves. I gave the revived plant back to my friend, where it now lives back on top of that bookshelf about an arm's reach from a bedroom window, getting heaps of bright indirect light all day and then a bit of direct afternoon sunlight through the window. Well, I hope the next time your plants get bold, you won't give up on it and will instead try to salvage some healthy stems for water or soil propagation, or both. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe, and let me know in the comments how much you love your snow queen. Long live the queen. Bye!
It's just right, I can't explain.